Alright, so just a few things, guys. Tonight and for tomorrow, here's another question, obviously. Putting those questions a day up to poll. I think it'd be a good idea for us to kind of flesh out some of these details. I mean, I just put this one up, let's give it a little more time, but we can already see some of those thoughts there. I put Maria Barlas. Her essay was great, guys. I mean, she admitted to me she got some things from the internet. Again, I'm sure it's something we're all doing. There's no plagiarism here, though. That's the difference. I think what I mentioned in class today is, could be seen done the right way in Maria's essay, on one hand. On the other hand, again, it's a good essay. So I really want you guys looking at this essay, taking a look at it. I made an assignment. I really do want you to just make a post and, of course, turn it in. There's something you like about it. So we're not here to criticize and to bash Maria. I'm sure there's some things you guys could find that maybe you don't like about it, but this is about what you like about it, and there's a lot to like. All right, so really take a look at Maria's essay. And maybe I'll continue to do this with some of the other ones that I see, if it's okay with those people. I put up another FRQ. This one's due only in a few days. It's due this coming Monday. I want to kind of do the same thing. I'd like to get 2 more essays in, this one and one other one, before the big test, and that does not include, of course, this Saturday when you'll be doing 3. So just we have plenty of practice still to come. Just to kind of give the rundown. I put up, when I was a kid, I was talking to a couple students in here about the next president's quiz and some of the things that will be coming up for us. And this was a cartoon, the Animaniacs. I don't know if some people remembered it, some people didn't from your age group. The president's song, and not that all the facts necessarily things you want to use, but just the order of the presidents in a couple of minutes. If you'd watch this several times, you probably have it all down ready to go. So remember, for the next president's quiz, which is Thursday, you will have to know 33 in a row. So this might become something you could use. I also put up for tomorrow. I just like you guys to take a listen. This is an assignment, of course, but I am looking at these numbers because I just put it up, so no one's looked at it yet. Of course, I wouldn't expect that to be the case. But I don't know if you guys have ever heard, hopefully you have heard the movie Casablanca, something you could even cite in a paper. It's a movie that was made during World War II in 1942. It's one of the best movies ever made. Generally, it's ranked by the American Film Institute as one of the best movies. Sometimes it's number 1, sometimes it's number 2. Second to only to The Godfather or something like that. This is one of the best movies ever. Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman was on a lot of Academy Awards. Point is, I really like the movie. A lot of people really like the movie a lot, and so I just put up a couple. I just found something I copy and pasted from a site about the movie here, so you knew something about it. But take a look at this clip in particular. I always like this one. I think it says a lot about the time, the era, about pride in one's nation, and some of that nationalism that's kind of still existing at the outset of World War II. Because again, I want to stress this. This movie was made during World War II, about World War II. And romanticism here, although it is a romantic movie, there is a love interest in the movie. Romanticism in this case really means how something can be taken and somewhat, to some degree, exaggerated. So in this clip, you'll see there's 2 gentlemen who, one is an American expatriate, like this, I think this thing says, somebody who cannot return, and you never find out what he's done, but he's not able to return to his to America, not able to return to the United States, whoever he's done. He's always sort of fighting, for the underdog. He's this guy, he's a soldier, and this and that. But now he owns this bar, and it's a casino behind closed doors, a casino, and so on and so forth. And it's kind of a corrupt place, but everybody's kind of friendly and corrupt at the same time. And then you have this other guy who's this freedom fighter. He's a European guy, I think from Czechoslovakia, and he's sort of leader of the underground. Is trying to revolt against the Nazis. And these 2 guys also, unfortunately for the 2 of them, have the same love interest in Ingrid Bergman. So, neither of them want to help each other out, but they kind of have to rise above that in order to defeat, Nazism and this and that. So again, is there a story exactly like this during World War II? Who knows? But they do, again, they're romanticizing World War II using this romantic image that is presented in this movie. And this clip, it's only a few minutes long. Please take a look at it. It's a great movie. It's a great clip from a great movie. So please enlighten yourself a little bit. You'll culture yourself a bit. And so that's that. So more in a sense for tomorrow. And again, this is kind of how it starts. But I just put it into a YouTube clip so you guys can look at that at home many times you want. Instead of which you'll look at it in class. And just back to the history. So we said that FDR served 4 terms. Right, he died early in his 4th term. Harry Truman has been grandfathered in, so in other words, he's been afforded the opportunity to run more than twice. Okay, but now it is law. You know, what Washington did was tradition. Every president to this point has generally just run 2 times and then call it a day. Okay, FDR did that more than that, of course. You know, his cousin TR did try, it was not successful. It's not that other people haven't thought of it, but that's tradition, and tradition in any country, any place, in the United States at this point has been a sacred thing. The Republican Party in Congress, for the most part, it says we don't like that FDR, despite the the problems of the day, World War II, of course, and the Great Depression. We don't like that he ran 3rd and then a 4th time. They want to change that to make sure now, and by law, and not just tradition, that it can't be outdone again. So, an amendment is passed, and that is done. Now, again, Truman is grandfathered in. He decides he doesn't want to do that, but we're not talking about that part of it now. We're talking about Truman running for his own sake for the first time. So he's run, right, with FDR. He became president very early, okay, because FDR died so early in his term. And now Truman's running on his own. And the truth is, Truman is not the most popular guy. He's not. He's a nice guy. People like him. He's done a lot for the country, and but he has lost a lot of steam largely because of the economy and things that need to be paid for, and leftover sort of New Deal programs that still exist in the late 40s, and a lot of people feel they don't need them anymore. Like, he wants to kind of toe the line and keep FDR's program intact, but a lot of people feel because of the war effort, and now the war being over, we don't need those things anymore. And of course the 50s will be a very prosperous time. So, I mean, people are going to sort of shuffle away from that thing, and we have had many, many years now of Democratic presidents, or presidencies at least. FDR having 4, Truman now will have his own one, but it's a very close election. In fact, it's so close, if you look at the percentages of the popular vote, it is incredibly close, this election. One of the closest in American history. In fact, so close that newspapers, I'll jump down to this one, it's a little bigger. Newspapers, right? Chicago Daily Tribune actually puts that Dewey, right? In this case, the front runner, Thomas E. Dewey, a Republican, had beat Truman in the newspaper. So they were already printing articles in which Truman lost, and in fact Truman won. And the reason he wins is largely because of this whistle-stop tour, and that is an old-school way to campaign, literally taking trains to every state, every town. People kept telling Truman, you've lost, it's over. They would continue to kind of move in that direction. The reality was Truman just didn't give up. He felt he didn't want to do that. Even in his own mind at times, he felt like he had lost, but he said, I'm still going to go to that next town and make a speech and talk to these people. And it worked out for him. People definitely, basically say that this is the reason why he won, because he kept going to places. He just exhausted himself. I mean, he had this route of, it was like a marathon of campaigning, in other words. So that's one aspect of it. So, Truman's now in office again, right? And we have a lot of things happening. And the big thing on our plate, and pretty soon I'll give you guys your next blog. It's from a book by John Gaddis, and it's about containment, basically, this excerpt. You're not going to get the whole book, obviously. But we want to kind of get up to that. So just keep containment in the back of your mind, and now that we realize, and using the word containment, you have to understand that we're kind of complacent at the same time. We realize we're not going to defeat communism, we just want to stop its spread, we want to contain it. And that's what containment is, eventually, is basically our policy, which is saying we don't want to, we realize stopping communism is going to be very difficult, but we do want to kind of stop its spread at least. Okay? Alright, so biggest foreign policy maneuvers right after the war, right, is the new United Nations, these new committees, these conferences. First one in San Francisco, I believe, right after the war is over. Obviously FDR has passed away at this point, but some of the major players, Eleanor Roosevelt, as we said, and one of these people that helps to draft the Declaration of Human Rights. So something now is worldly and not just American or this group or that group, whatever. So again, that's the United Nations' purpose. That's what they're supposed to do. So, and then we get into a little bit of the economy. And again, this is where Connor Truman is slipping up a little bit, and what will cost Democrats in the next presidential election. Right? So financing the future. During World War II, the United States, Soviet Union, right, had to put aside their differences in order to defeat the Nazis. They realized this. Now, at the end of the day, guys, since World War I, we've understood, actually before World War I, we've understood that the United States and Soviet Union were on paths that were very divergent. They were not going towards each other. In fact, they were going very much away from each other. Right? Their ideologies are completely the opposite. Right? One believes in a command economy, one believes in a free market economy. Right? Capitalism, and of course, communism. Okay, on this side. All right. So this is the reason why an alliance is unlikely after World War II. Again, it says a lot about being Normandy World War II. We just got through saying FDR was elected 4 times for the first time. third 3 times would have been a huge deal. It was a huge deal. For the 4th time, enormous. Okay, so it says a lot about the time period, and again, this does too. The fact that these 2 completely different or opposing ideologies can put aside their differences and say, we're not even going to deal with that issue right now. We're going to put aside our differences to fight Nazis, because that is the more pressing issue on the Empire of Japan, of course. So fears of the return of a depression, with the United States taking a much more active international stance. So this is sort of an apology or apologist or defense for what the United States is doing afterwards, right? The United States is going to spread its influence. The Soviet Union is going to spread its influence. The motivation, says our PowerPoint here, is that the United States is doing this because we don't want another depression. We want to stop that from happening. So the first thing we're going to do is get out there and open up new markets for trade and start to, let's do neo-imperialize. Is it the same imperialism that existed during the Spanish-American War? Not really, right? But let's call it neo-imperialism, a new form of imperialism, right? A new sort of global, right? And again, I'm speaking from the perception, perspective of those that might be taking advantage of this. Okay, I mean, again, this is debatable, controversial ground. And we're at a point now where we're not that far from present day, so we're still learning a lot about this stuff. So you just want to have all the information and kind of make your arguments as you go through, your thesis statements as you go through. Soviet Union interpreted the aggressive American economic moves as a threat. So again, it comes back to ideology, and again, why the alliance is unlikely. The United States believes in free market; they're going to spread free market. If the Soviet Union sees free market spreading, they're going to feel that they need to spread communism. And then the United States is going to say, well, we need to stop that spread because we believe in free market and democracy being the way to go in a more freeing world, right? Self-determination and all this other sort of stuff. And the Soviet Union is going to say, well, we feel that this is what is best for people in general, okay? And that's what we have these divergent paths. So you have a couple different things, right? Divergent Europe, right? During the Cold War, Europe was divided into opposing military alliances, okay? So again, this is after World War II. And in order to, just like we said before, with trade comes an expanded navy because we need to now support our trade, right, and protect our trade and our ships and whatever is ongoing in terms of commerce. Here, you have the same type of thing. Well, in order to, protect our spheres of influence, the fear, okay, drives us toward each other and people like us. So you actually have literally what Winston Churchill eventually will call an Iron Curtain, and in 2 regards, okay? You have the North American Treaty Organization, or NATO, in these red areas here, okay? And you have the Soviets' counter move to that, which is what is known as the Warsaw Pact, right? Warsaw and Poland, right? And that's where this has come up with. Now the truth is, NATO is a treaty organization. These governments signed on to NATO, okay? Whether they felt any kind of pressure internally or externally remains to be seen. But it is pretty well known the Soviet Union really did pressure these other nations into signing on to the Warsaw Pact. And in fact, none of these nations really had any democratic government to make those decisions as these did. So we can't really take this as a serious alliance or a group outside of the fact that the Soviet Union was really pulling the puppet strings on all these other nations. They're not. Who's making the decisions there? Dictators. Soviet puppeteers, basically, are making that for these other nations, what they call satellite nations. All right. Here, France could just as likely, as Spain did, they opted not to be in NATO, right? So did Sweden and some of these other nations. So no one's being forced to. Here, right? They are, and of course, other nations will feel that pain also in some capacity. So the Truman Doctrine, right, is based in large part on what FDR believed in anyway, right? FDR did favor diplomacy and compromise, but at the same time, guys, it's not entirely true because he also helped to develop or initiated the development of an atomic bomb. Okay, so Truman's committed to a get tough policy, right? What they call hard diplomacy, right? Could be dangerous stuff, right? So we're getting these things like massive retaliation and some of those other types of things. So when civil war threatened the governments in Turkey and Greece, right, the United States warned of a communist coup and provided $400 million to defeat the rebels. So it's kind of there's a little dollar diplomacy there, not like past dollar diplomacy, but in order to stop Greece from going the way of communism, because they feel that is their only way out of poverty and debt and all this other kind of stuff, okay, and the people there, the United States is going to bankroll them, right, and help them defeat these communist rebels, okay, because there are some Greeks who want communism to exist, and some Greeks who don't. So we're going to take the side of one, Soviet Union's going to take the side of the other, and this is what's called a proxy war, right? A war that is not, it's a Cold War between the Soviet Union and the United States, but these proxy wars like Vietnam will be and Korea will be and all those other things are sort of these proxy wars, they call them, that are fought between them, all right? So I just wanted to get a start on this tonight. Obviously, we have to look at a lot of these other things tomorrow, but I do want you guys to look at these, at this screencast, and look at the PowerPoint, take a look at this stuff for tomorrow, because it really sets us